to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on transforming the user experience. So we're going to focus on intelligent ticket resolution with agent assist. So this is for ITSM. This is our second session today. I will be sharing out both recordings in the next 24 hours and also the joint Q&A. So do please use the Q&A section of Zoom. If you have any questions during the demo and also the webinar, if you can pop them into there. We will leave you unmuted until towards the end. Then we will open up for live Q&A and questions. So I'm now going to just do a bit of a debrief and a reminder as well shortly. So first of all, my name is Samantha Hudson dos Santos Figueira. I work as a senior program manager at BMC. I run a lot of our events, so some of you may have joined some of these before. This is our webinar series. So this is the first session of many. So we're going to try to create them every month. So if you don't get to make any of these sessions, as long as you sign up for them, you will get the recordings as well. Joining me today is Harshad, our product manager. He will introduce himself when he starts talking. And we've also got Des from our solutions engineering team, who's going to talk about the BMC messaging. So before we get started with Des' message, just a reminder, the legal notice, we will be sharing some roadmap content. So if you can just view this, and it's also a good point now, if you don't want to share your name, if you need to change it to anonymous, please do so. But we will be sharing this out on our social media platforms post-event. So I'm now going to hand over, Des, for your introduction and just talk about the BMC messaging.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Desmond Sanders. I'm a senior principal solution engineer within BMC. I've been around BMC for about 10 years in multiple different roles, predominantly focused in the automation stack. And let's be honest, right, the current way of artificial intelligence, for me, ultimately, is automation, right? Bringing the benefits of what an artificial intelligence can do for us today to enhance your customer experience. So, part of our role is to help our customers adopt the new capabilities and to see where we're going in the future. And what I'm going to be talking about today is HelixGPT and how it can support you in that area. So, BMC itself, like I said, I've been here for 10 years. In those 10 years, I've seen the leaps and bounds we've made within the AI space, right? Starting off with the ability to look at historical data and to start predicting forward where you may have outages in the future, to have predictive analysis to see where I'm able to understand, if I've got an incident which is going to be creating a major incident, right? So predicting was where we're going to go. Looking at the causal side of things, so looking at taking all my information on my platform today, understanding where I may have a root cause and what the root cause of that outage is, and what the generative AI is bringing to the fore is not only can I report on this stuff, not only can I see and understand where I'm going to have these problems, but I can start taking actions on these problems. And this is core to the BMC strategy because we believe that having a Gen AI plugged into the platform gives you the ability to leverage the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of data within your platform to make informed decisions to help enhance your customer experience. From a BMC perspective, this is something that is going to be enabling our fundamental capabilities. So a generative AI component will be part of the platform, or is part of the platform today. And that component is enabling, virtual agent, digital workplace, ITSM, AI ops, and other of our product sets within the platform. Now, the reason that we think that Gen AI is key here is obviously, you look at what's happening around the world today, right? ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Copilot, and so on. They are sort of intrinsically involved in where we're going, right? They are things that have changed the way that we do things today. And for us, there's no difference, right? We believe that those tool sets, those models, the way that they're built will enhance our ability to support you as a customer. Next slide, please. So, what is HelixGPT? HelixGPT is a technology which is enabled within the BMC platform. Okay, this technology is based on the likes of Azure, OpenAI, and Google Vertex, where we're leveraging the power of those models that were being pre-trained, right? So these models, GPT-4s, Llama 3s, Llama 2s, and so on, have got a lot of information in them. And what that information provides is not only access to data, but also access to knowledge on how to ask and answer questions, right? If I did things in the past, I would have to do a lot of statements about figuring out what is the logic, right? I have to do a lot of statements to say, well, if I didn't quite ask this correct question, what is the answer going to be? And if I didn't put the correct answer, the bot would typically fall over, right? So, looking at these large models, they're able to then start looking at the natural language understanding of things. They're able to look at the logic. They're able to look at the reasoning and start giving you a response, right? So if you talk about ChatGPT today, ask it a question, it'll go and look at its knowledge and give me a response. Great, nice, easy to do. But what Helix GPT is taking the power is taking the power of those models and overlaying your corporate data on top of it. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking away the need to leverage its knowledge, because its knowledge is great, but it's probably unlikely to be useful to you because it's not relevant to your corporate data. We're overlaying your corporate data on there. We're saying, well, let's use the natural understanding, let's use the reasoning, let's use the logic to then tell it, this is where your data sits, this is your knowledge, this is your RTSM data, this is your DevOps data, and let's go and provide some insights on that data simply by plugging this brain into the platform. Now, through the overlay of the data, we can then start to control how it responds, right? So instead of, like I said, responding to the wider knowledge that it understands, we only respond to your enterprise data, right? Step number one. So we now control where your data sits and how it responds. Step number two, in order to fine-tune the responses and stop hallucinations, we provide the out-of-the-box capabilities of prompt generation, right? So we create the prompts, and those prompts are written in plain natural language, so you can understand them. You can change them should you need to, and fine-tune them to make sure that the responses are what you are targeting for your customers. Okay, so you're now able to control or use the large language model to generate results on your current data and fine-tune to be a response that is actually that is useful for your customer. And the third thing is, as you start generating these responses, you're now able to look at what is the source of that data. How do I know that when it tells me how to fix my VPN, that's related to me in the business, right? And this is where we start providing the source data. So these are the knowledge articles that you can use to solve your problem, right? And by the way, if you click on the article, it'll take you to it. You can review the entire article, even though we're giving you a summarization of it. Next slide, please. So one back. There we go. So as we look at the tool set it is, right? So if we think about using the large language models that do the work, we then start thinking about how do I get the data in the platform. So first things first, we want to focus and play on the area that's important to us, right? Service ops. We want to bring in your ticket data, your development data, your observability data to the platform, as well as your knowledge, right? So we want to understand what your IT looks like from a sort of intricate level. We want to know that. But we also want to be able to integrate with data sources like SharePoint and Confluence, right? We know that you've got these kinds of tools within your estate today, and you're probably using them for knowledge. I know we are. We're using it for knowledge as well. And you want to be able to reference that data and give it to your end users and to your agents. But you also want to leverage the data lakes that are out there, right? And we know most of our customers are either running Databricks or Snowflake and other large sort of data lakes that are out there, and being able to say, well, instead of putting the data in, let's leverage what's out there at the time that we need it, right? So let's go and pull the data when we need it rather than storing it within our platform. So we're not making our own data lake in this case. We're being able to leverage the power of the data lakes that exist when we need them and how we need them. Now, like I mentioned earlier, these tools this AI, Helix GPT, plugs into the OpenAIs, the Google Vertexes, the Azure OpenAIs. But that's allowing us to do our job. Now, what we're starting to see more and more is, Copilots coming to play, Gemini's coming to play. And what's important there is Copilot's got its own ecosystem, right? They've got Office 365, they've got Teams, Gemini's got Google Cloud, AWS has got their cloud, Azure's got their own cloud, right? Now, if I wanted to, I could create integration to each one of those platforms. But what we're seeing is that customers are starting to ask for one interface. They're saying, well, I'm already running Copilot, or I'm already running Gemini. I want to have that as my interface to your AI. Absolutely. This is where we need to get to, right? We need to start enabling bot-to-bot communications, because Helix GPT is really good at doing AI ops and service ops and RTSM information, right? Copilot's really good at Teams, at Office 365, right? Now, why would I want to create those integrations and create a whole lot of mess and a whole lot of administrative overhead, which could go wrong? If I can get Copilot and Helix GPT to talk together, if that would mean that I can simplify that process. So, for instance, if I'm in Copilot and I say, hey, I need to know what tickets I've got available, Copilot goes, hold on, I know Helix GPT has got this information. Hey, Helix GPT, go and get this information and put it back in this interface, right? Helix GPT does all the work. It summarizes it up. Copilot sees the interface. At the end of the day, the end user sees the result. They don't care how it got there. It's all there. And vice versa, right? If I'm in the RTSM platform and I've got a major incident that I'm busy working on, then I can say, oh, hold on. I know that within Teams, we were busy discussing this major incident that occurred. I want to get the summarization of all that Teams chat. Hey, Copilot, go and get me the team summarization. Copilot will do that, summarize it, put it back in Helix GPT, and suddenly it's within my ticket, right? So simplifying that whole communication. And this is the way where we're going towards. One of the big things to remember here is the bring your own Gen AI approach, right? Generative AI is going to slowly but surely become cheaper over time and become more of a commodity. Now, you don't always want to be reliant on one Gen AI. And this is what we're giving you. We give you the openness to choose where you want to put your AI, your large language model. We'll use that and then allow you to effectively use that as the brain for your data. The important thing being your data will exist and sit in the place where it needs to be. So service ops data will exist within your Helix tenant, and it will not leave it until you absolutely explicitly ask for that. Next slide, please. So that brings us into what are we providing here? So looking at the Helix platform, we've had a lot of these, like I said, we've had a lot of this AI in the platform today. If we think about aggregation of data, AI is really good at putting a lot of data in and analyzing it at scale and finding patterns. Our RTSM insights, major incident detection, real-time incident correlation, proactive problem management, and so on are using the likes of the Google BERT and those algorithms to find those patterns in the data. We're able to, in the AI ops platform, summarize the incident data, or not the incident, the AI ops data, the situational data, right, and play it back in simple natural language. We're then able to start looking at servicing the data, the right context, the right time when you need it. And this is something that Harshad will be talking about a bit today. Is when I'm an agent with the service desk and I've got a ticket, how do I know what the result is? How do I know how to fix the problem? Right? We'll be able to surface that information to you where you need it in the right context of what you're trying to achieve. The recommended best action. This is great, right? So if I start looking at pulling in AI ops data, observability data, ticket data, change data, and so on, I can start looking at everything that was solved in the past, everything that was similar to what I'm trying to do today that was solved in the past, and think about what are the similarities and what is the way that I can recommend to solve the problem, right? So, it might be, I've got to execute these 3 or 4 steps. Step number 1, run this script to restart the service. Number 2, run this execution to bring the Kubernetes cluster back up. Number 3, run these 3 manual steps because we can't do them automated in an automated fashion. And this will come from a bit of knowledge, right? Recommending the next steps. And this is something that as a level 1 or level 2 person makes my job easier because I no longer have to go and try and suss out what needs to happen and guess what needs to happen. I'm being told this is what has happened in the past. This is how we should do it today. And then the conversational approach, right? Gen AI. I mean, we've all used Gen AI in the past. Converse with the AI, and this is critical for me because we're able to look at having an AI available 24/7, 365 days a year, who's able to talk with you about your data in your platform, right? And not only is this available for your end users, this is also available for your IT users as well, where we can look at ticket data. We can also look at knowledge, and we can start deflecting tickets because users are no longer having to phone into the service desk to find the right knowledge, because we're no longer having to look at legacy bots, legacy virtual agents, which don't have all the answers. We've now got all the answers. And then last but not least is creation of content. Creation of content is key because if I look at all this data, I know when I was in operations, I hated documenting things, right? Creating knowledge articles, creating patterns, telling people how to do things. That was really a lot of work because all I wanted to do was solve a problem, move on to the next one, solve the next problem. Now, Gen AI is really good at creating content. We're able to understand the content scale, and we're able to start saying, well, hey, you might want to look at looking at this, creating this knowledge article, or this knowledge article is out of date. Go and fix this knowledge article, or I want to create a report, or documentation, or even a dashboard icon as well. So this is the kind of areas that we're focusing on from a BMC perspective. With that, I'm going to hand over to Harshad, who's one of our product managers in this space, who's going to talk you through the agent assist for ITSM. Harshad, over to you.
Thank you, Des. So I am Harshad Borgaonkar, and I work as a principal product manager with the DSOM BU at BMC. And in my role, I work closely with all our stakeholders, our customers, to bring about AI solutions and AI use cases to the market. So Des did mention about HelixGPT, and HelixGPT is a large part of our AI strategy. It is going to be our key focus this year and in the coming months. So we are happy to announce the launch of HelixGPT powered agent assist for faster resolution of tickets. And I will start with why the need for this feature. Now, the one challenge that we are facing in IT is around the increasing number of applications and increasing application complexity, along with the risk of not knowing how to resolve issues that are associated with niche or super niche applications and very specific areas within those applications. And when faced with this challenge, our agents look for traditional search, right? But traditional search has not been able to respond to these challenges in a way that our new age workforce expects it to. And here is where the agent assistance feature in HelixGPT comes to the rescue, right? So what it does is that it gives support agents a search interface that provides a summarized response to the reported incident. We will see it later in our demo how this response can be a summarization of knowledge from one or more articles. And then what's more is that it also helps in responding to user queries or prompts in GPT language and return answers in the specific context of the user's inquiry. Overall, the goal of this feature is to reduce the time spent, searching through multiple, knowledge articles and provide faster and accurate answers that are fully referenced to the original source documents. And this is to facilitate more detailed analysis. And you can do more detailed analysis when you have time on your hands. So it's really meant to free your time and provide you more time to do detailed analysis. And that's the whole objective of this solution. With this, I think it's a good segue to launch into the demo. And what I'll do is I'll share my screen here.
Okay, it's come up. That's great. If you can
Yeah,
put it in
I hope you're able to see my
full
screen.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So here we have a scenario at hand. So it's Monday morning, 9 a.m. I get a call from one of our users, Peter Asito, and it's a very short call. But in the short call, Peter tells me that he cannot access Helix dashboard. right? So what I do is I just create this incident, I just, kind of create the incident and save it, right? I don't have more context at this point, but I just get whatever is being told to me on the call, right? And, so when I create this incident, my first, go-to thing is the resources tab and the knowledge articles within the resources tab, right? But as you can see, there are a lot of knowledge articles in the resources tab. It spans across pages, right? So I really don't have the time, or I don't have the luxury of time to go through all the knowledge articles, because Peter is really looking for an answer quickly. And this is where our HelixGPT comes to the rescue, right? So when I click on Ask HelixGPT, it provides me a summary response from the most relevant knowledge articles that can be used to resolve the issue, right? So I get this very nice, proper summary response. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm just going to copy this response, right, in its entirety, and I'm going to mail it back to Peter, with the hope that it really solves his issue, right? So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to send this button. I'm going to press the send button here, right? So I do this. I send the email to Peter. I follow it up with a call to him to check if things are all right, if things are working. But on the call, Peter tells me that it is not an issue with dashboards, in general, but it's about the fact that he's not able to access specific catalogs within the dashboard, right? So this is the additional information that I've got. I'm going to convert that into a prompt and then ask HelixGPT for more help, right? And this is really the chain of command, thought reasoning which goes behind, which is the main purpose, and the main objective of the solution, right? This is what goes in the service test, on in the service test. You get the initial inquiry, you get the initial you get to know about the initial issue. It could be about one thing, but as drill more into that, you understand that it's not about what it seems like, but it goes more beyond this one, right? So now then I ask the question around, what can I do to help the user, to access specific catalogs? And then again, I get a very, very specific response from HelixGPT out here. It tells me to sign into the portal with the so and so credentials, click the top level project drop down menu, go to the workbooks and so on and so forth, check the metrics and data sources, and do the stuff which is mentioned out here, right? Again, what I'm going to do is I'm again going to really paste this response here. Again, I'm going to send it to the user, again with the hope that this would really solve his purpose, right? And again, this is something which is happening very fast, as you could see, right? I mean, there is no time spending in getting the answers to the revised inquiries, or the revised understanding that I, as an agent, have been receiving from Peter, right? Now, again, I call Peter and he says he says, I'm sorry, but it is really about the fact that he's not really able to add or change metadata in the catalogs. So he doesn't have access, really to the metadata in the catalogs, right? So that is really his issue. So again, I'm going to type in this prompt. I am going to type it and ask HelixGPT for more help around this, right? So as you could see, it started with a very generic description of the issue, right? But during our conversations as we moved along, as it happened, the issue is much more deep. It is about a specific application. It's a niche application. The issue is very much about a specific topic within the application, right? And so again, I get this response in terms of what to do to get access to specific metadata in a catalog, right? It talks about turning off the catalog capabilities, then run so and so services, make changes to the data catalog, and then monitor the initial ingestion process and so and so, right? So and then it gives me the steps. It also follows up this with the sources, right? So then at this point, I'll do what I did earlier as well on the earlier two occasions. So I'm just going to send this response back to the user. And then again, this is the this is the typical day of the life that we've seen in the agent's life. This is a typical day in the life of an agent, right? Where you really have to have instantaneous access to knowledge repositories, knowledge sources, and you need the ability to get summarized responses, right? Because with all these new inquiries, with all these new issues, it's not really possible to go back to a knowledge repository, keep searching for articles or knowledge articles that would solve the user's purpose. It's not, it's really time consuming. It's tedious, right? And now at this point, Peter tells me that yes, this has indeed solved this issue, and now he's able to add or change metadata and able to access metadata in the catalog, right? So as you could see, this really started off as being one issue, and then it graduated to being something which is very specific in the application. Now, all along the way, we had sources, that were referenced while creating this response, right? So, as an agent, if I really have little confidence in this response, I can always go back and I can always click on these knowledge article sources to see if what has been listed as a response is really derived from the knowledge articles, right? So I can do that cross referencing. I can make sure that there is no hallucination, uh, there is no falsehoods that have been mentioned in the answers. So this is one thing that really is going to save a lot of time, because this is an effective way of searching for answers, right? You get the responses in a very summarized fashion, in a very succinct fashion. Along with that, you get sources that are referenced to provide the answers, right? So this is the this is the solution that would really save time, would enhance the experience of our agents, and then allow them to do detailed analysis of the issue, right? So I can then look at what can be done to resolve issues of this nature in the future, right? It really allows me that time to look at such things. So again, with this, I'll go back to the presentation mode, and I'll talk about what's coming up in this feature, right? So this is what we've right now delivered as a MVP feature, right? But we do have more around this capability that will be launched in the coming months, right? And as part of improving the response, the one thing that we would do going forward is to have this GPT summary that you've seen come not only from knowledge articles. So knowledge articles can be one source, but we would look at similar past incidents and then look at the resolutions of those similar past incidents, and then also base the responses on that as well, right? So it is going to be a combination of knowledge articles as well as resolution insights. And the objective here is to be as accurate as possible, save as much time as possible, and democratize knowledge within the service desk. That's really the goal of this feature, right? Also going forward, agents will have the ability to pin the sources that were referenced during the creation of their response, right? And this goes back to maintain the integrity of the KCS knowledge sources, right? Um, so they can pin the knowledge articles which were used to create the response. They can upvote the response. They can downvote the response. Things that you see today in Chat GPT, right? And this is something which will give us the feedback from the agents, right? So as Helix GPT, we would need feedback from the agents about the quality of our responses. If we have to really improve the quality, we would know it when we have downvotes. If the quality is good, that would be indicated by the upvotes. And we would also have a quick button which can send an email to the user with the response, with the answer, right? So what I did right now is I had to go back to the email button in the incident form, right? But that's a bit of a to and fro. It takes too many clicks, and the goal is really to have a single click email to the user with the response. Then, going forward, we would add the summary to the activity logs, right? Activity logs is something which would have these not only the summary but also the knowledge articles that were referenced. And the last is we would be able to rank the knowledge articles under the resources tab using a large language model. And large language models, do very well because they can work on semantic similarity. They can rank these articles um, in an order of which is more relevant to the issue at hand. So you would really not have to go through all the knowledge articles. It would save you time because whatever you require will be then on the first page itself. So that's the other thing that we intend to do with this feature in the future, right? Um, Again, this is in the next slide. Again, we do have you know uh, some common risks that we have listed when integrating generative AI, right? So if you can move to the next slide. Yeah. Um, and the first thing, the one thing that we keep hearing from our customers is around, enterprise knowledge versus, internet knowledge, right? How do we put the scope of knowledge in the proper context, right? And this is a very important consideration, right? We need to securely harness the correct data sources, for your enterprise knowledge. And this is different from the public internet sources. So you really need to put the scope of all knowledge that is captured through generative AI. And this is required to avoid any data privacy breaches or to breach any enterprise security protocols. And the answer to that is we have Helix GPT Manager, where you can specify what sources to reference. It could be your internal sources, it could be your internal knowledge sources like RKM or HKM. It could be even Confluence or SharePoint. So you could really base your answers on a variety of knowledge sources, right? And then again, as we have seen in the demo, we have the ability to provide references to the knowledge articles that were used to solve the issue. So this is something which really helps in mitigating the issue around hallucination and getting incorrect information or errors, right? Because it really increases the integrity and the reliability of our results, right? It makes our end users that much more um, that much more confident in using Helix GPT. It's a safety layer that we would like to operate within, right? And the last is the option to bring your own models, right? And again, this is the power that HelixGPT provides you. This allows you to flexibility to bring your own models, which could be an open source model, but which could also include models from other AI vendors such as Azure or OpenAI and Google. And this keeps your investments in Gen AI safe. So if you already have investments in, let's say, Azure or OpenAI, you can leverage that for ITSM as well. And then you can benefit from the advancements of those models in the GPT and the large language model space, right? So again, these are things that I would say are very unique to us, the way we've solved this issue. And again, this is something that we would keep working on to fine tune and to also get to a level where we have more accuracy and more safety. I'll go to the next slide here quickly, and it talks about design partnership. So, um, so we have this very marquee program at BMC, which is called Design Partnership, and this is really meant, to get the voice of our customers, right? So we really listen to our customers, we collaborate with our customers, but we also want them to participate in technical discussions, in feature discussions, in future concepts, right? Because that is very important. Knowing what their needs are, what the gaps in the solutions are, their concerns, their ideas is going to really help us build more intuitive interfaces, build solutions, and address problems that are really pain points for our customers, right? So this is an opportunity for our customers to to experience something firsthand before it is launched to the market, right? And then also to influence some of the decisions that we take during the whole process of designing and developing new features, right? Again, I would strongly ask you to participate in the design partnership program. We can do it collaboratively, so please come and innovate with us. It's an open invitation to you. You can do that by scanning this QR code, which is on the next slide here. So when you scan this QR code, you have to fill up the form. You can do it using this code, and that will be a good start, to our long partnership. I would really look forward to that. Yeah, and with that, I'll hand it over back to Sam for closing
Before
comments.
we go into the Q&A, and we'll unmute everyone if they've got further questions. So just a couple of reminders. We've got some references here. Don't worry about taking all this information down. These slides will be shared with you, and also the recording. This is the first of many of our series, so we're just in the process of building next month's and the next coming months. We're hopefully going to be doing a round robin with all our product managers where GPT is involved, and then try and bring it all together again. So if there are any suggestions, comments, or just in general content that you're trying to look for, feel free to use the survey that will come out post-webinar. I will try to get this content up in the next 24, 48 hours, and share the Q&A. So obviously your questions are really, really helpful because they will help other customers as well. So I think it's a good time actually to go to the Q&A. I'm just going to hopefully unmute everyone. Bear with me. And while I'm doing that, Harshad, is there any other recap, or Des, just any pointers that you just want to remind anyone, or just some takeaways? I don't know if you have any.
No, I'm
sorry.
good.
There's one of the things, right? So one of the questions that's just come up is, how do we ensure the enterprise data is not exported by HelixGPT outside of the client infrastructure? So I mean that's a key important thing that we do here. This is why we differentiate ourselves, because we store the data within the vector store within the Helix platform, right? And we apply a retrieval augmented generation approach, which means that we're only pulling out the information that we need at the point of time for generation. Okay, that data stays within your tenant, stays within your infrastructure, and is only restricted to your infrastructure. Each tenant's got their own vector store, their own data, and it's not shared amongst any of the other platforms. So that's how we control that data, and I think that's important to understand, because we're not training any other models. We're just making sure that we've converted your data into the mathematical response that's required for the vector store.
Thanks, Des. And I see that obviously we'll answer the questions on there. We had a few other questions. I don't know if we want to bring those up for discussion, but there was an additional one from Anonymous, just saying, is it available from Prem customers? So I don't know, Harshad, if you want to answer that one.
That is also part of our plans to have HelixGPT made available to on-prem customers as well. We'll come back to you with the exact dates and the release dates for that, but that's really included in our plans and our release planning. So the answer is yes.
Great. And I saw also Sudeep had a question earlier, which Des answered, about it being available for business workflow as well. And obviously that is on the roadmap, and it will be a future session I'll be setting up with the product management team that manage business workflows. So thanks for your question, Sudeep. Okay, so that answers all the questions that we've had during the actual session and the recent ones that have just come through. Does anybody else on here that's still available have any questions that they want to ask the team directly? Feel free to come off mute or put it into the Q&A.
John's raised his hand.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or hello.
Hey, John.
Just to follow up on the question I asked about the Ask Helix GPT and the smart recorder. It says that it'll be on the incident, even if it's created from the smart recorder, but will be available on the smart recorder screen. So like if you're on the phone with somebody, you can have that interaction before you create the ticket, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, so it will not be available on the smart recorder screen as of now. And in terms of smart recorder, we are really looking forward to redesign the whole application as such in the future as well, right? So we would like to connect smart recorder with an Avaya-based telephony system or with a soft phone system, right? So that users do not have to take notes in that text box, in the large text box that you see, right? We then would be able to classify automatically things like entities, which could be persons, which could be companies, we could also be able to then classify intents from the phone conversations, right? So what you would really have is then the ability to create a ticket automatically just by connecting your phone systems to a smart recorder. So we really want to revamp the whole idea of smart recorder. It's not as smart as it was 10 years back, right? So that's the whole point there. But when we do that, of course, we would like to also look at our HelixGPT as one of the integral components of the whole smart recorder thing, right? So that's in our plans in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. Okay, any other questions? We've got roughly 18 or so minutes. We don't obviously have to use the whole time, but does anybody else have any other questions they'd like to raise? Don't be
if no
shy.
one if no one minds, I'll ask a second question and
Go
unrelated
for
to my last. So I think I saw that before, it's Azure OpenAI was the only thing we could use. Is that being extended so that other LLMs could be used?
Yes. So basically this is we do have the flexibility to use any large language model. It could be OpenAI, it could be Azure, it could be Gemini, it could be any large language model. It could be even one of the open source models like GPT-3, right? And we it comes along with a component called Helix GPT Manager, right? Where you would be able to configure your own large language model, where you would be able to configure your own data sources, where you will be able to configure your own prompts, right? Your own skill sets, your own skills for a particular application. And this is all really part of making it more configurable and more flexible, right? So we don't really want to kind of depend or rely on one technology as such. So if your organization has made significant investments in, let's say, OpenAI or Azure, you would be then able to leverage that investments in ITSM as well. And that's the whole idea behind this.
Fantastic. I think you just made my management very happy. So thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the differentiators for us is the fact that we're open in that sense, because we're not restricted to a specific technology in this case, but we're able to leverage the best of breed technologies that are coming down the line, and also allows us to use it as a commodity, right? So should you have an agreement with Microsoft today and maybe tomorrow an agreement with Google, well, no problem, right? We'll just change the break there. But because we've got the data within the platform, we can change the break and we could continue as if there was no real change, and then use the cheaper technology in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Okay, has that inspired anybody else to ask us any questions?
We're a shy group on the call
We
today.
have. And again, I do apologize because we have a few people missing from our technical glitch, but hopefully because they registered, I will get the content at least out to them. Okay, if we don't have any further questions, I'm not going to keep everyone on here. Thank you firstly to Harshad and Des for sharing this content. We will obviously, Des, be working closely together with our next sessions coming up. Love to hear your feedback. Would love to get you signed up for working with us with beta research. Unfortunately, Angela's not with us today. Otherwise, she would have said hello. She works in our UX team. Is always looking to work closely with customers. So if any of you are interested, do drop me a line via the survey, and I can connect you up. And also, Harshad has mentioned, very keen to work with you as well. So if that is something that is of interest, please reach out to us. Otherwise, I will get the content over soon and hopefully see some of you on other webinars and also the next one we will be doing next month. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a good rest of your day.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.